Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Phoenix, watching the stars through the large window. The ship was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines. They had been in space for 3 months now, mining valuable metals from the asteroids near the Kepler 442 system. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. "Captain, we're getting good results from mining Platform 7, said Lisa Park, his chief engineer. She was a small woman with short black hair and oil stains on her uniform. "The metal quality is better than we expected." Jake nodded. "Good news. How much longer until we fill the cargo holds?" "Maybe 2 more weeks if we keep this pace," Lisa replied. Danny Wright, the communications officer, looked up from his station. He was young, probably in his early 20s, with bright blue eyes. "Sir, I'm picking up some strange readings on the long-range sensors." "What kind of readings?" Jake asked, walking over to Danny's station. "I'm not sure. Something big is coming out of hyperspace, about 10 million kilometers away." Amy Stone, the security chief, joined them. She was tall and strong, with short brown hair and serious eyes. "Could be pirates," she said. "We should be ready for trouble." Jake felt his stomach tighten. Pirates were always a problem for mining ships. They were slow and carried valuable cargo, making them easy targets. Red alert. "All hands to battle stations." The ship's alarm began to sound. All around the bridge, people moved quickly to their positions. Jake had a good crew of 200 people, but they were miners and engineers, not soldiers. "Captain," Danny said, his voice shaking, "these aren't pirates. The ships coming out of hyperspace are massive, much bigger than anything I've ever seen." Jake looked at the main screen. 3 enormous ships appeared, each one at least 5 times larger than the Phoenix. They were black and silver, with sharp edges and strange symbols painted on their sides. They looked like nothing humans had ever built. "First contact," Amy whispered. "We're looking at alien ships." Jake's heart pounded. Humans had been exploring space for over a century, but they had never met another intelligent species. Now, here they were, face to face with beings from another world. "Danny, try to contact them," Jake ordered. "Use all frequencies. Let them know we come in peace." Danny worked at his station for several minutes. "I'm sending messages in every language we know, plus mathematical sequences and music." No response yet. The alien ships moved closer. Jake could see they were beautiful in a scary way, with smooth lines and glowing lights. But they also looked dangerous, like weapons built to kill. "Captain," Lisa said from her station, "I'm reading incredible energy signatures from those ships. Their technology is far beyond ours." "How far beyond?" Jake asked. "Their smallest ship has more firepower than our entire fleet back on Earth." Jake felt cold. If these aliens wanted to hurt them, there was nothing the Phoenix could do to stop them. Suddenly, Danny's station came alive with noise. "Sir," they're responding. "It's coming through on all channels." A deep voice filled the bridge. The words were in a language no human had ever heard, but somehow they could understand the meaning. It was like the voice was speaking directly into their minds. "Primitive creatures of the 3rd planet, you will surrender immediately. Your species will serve the Valdoron Empire. Resistance will result in death." The bridge fell silent. Jake looked around at his crew. They were scared, but they were also angry. Humans didn't like being told what to do, especially by strangers. "Danny, open a channel," Jake said. "Channel open, sir." Jake took a deep breath. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Phoenix. We are peaceful explorers. We don't want any trouble, but we will not surrender to anyone." There was a long pause. Then the alien voice came back, sounding confused. "You refuse to submit? Your technology is inferior. Your weapons are weak. Surrender now, and your death will be quick." "We don't surrender," Jake said firmly. "We don't kneel to anyone, no matter how big their ships are." Amy stepped forward. "Sir, my readings show movement on their ships. I think they're preparing weapons." Jake's mind raced. They couldn't fight these aliens and win, but they couldn't run either. The Phoenix was too slow, and the alien ships would catch them easily. "Captain," Lisa said quietly, "I have an idea. It's crazy, but it might work. Tell me." "We can't fight their ships, but we can fight smart. The mining platforms are loaded with explosives for breaking up asteroids. If we can get them close enough." Jake understood immediately. "You want to turn our mining equipment into weapons." "Exactly. We set the platforms on remote control, make them look like escape pods. When the aliens get close to capture them, we detonate the explosives." Danny looked up from his station. "Sir, the alien ships are moving. They're heading for mining platform 7. "They're going to destroy it," Amy said. "Show us how strong they are." Jake watched the main screen as one of the alien ships fired. A beam of bright energy. Mining platform 7 disappeared in a flash of light. 50 human workers died in that instant. The bridge was quiet. Jake felt rage building inside him, hot and powerful. These aliens had just killed 50 innocent people without warning. They thought humans would be scared and give up. They were wrong. "Lisa, how long do you need to rig the platforms?" Jake asked. "Give me 10 minutes. You have 5. Danny, send a message to all mining platforms. Tell them to evacuate immediately. Amy, prepare all our weapons. I know they're not much, but we're going to fight." The alien voice came back, sounding pleased. "You see our power. Submit now, and we will spare the rest of your people." Jake keyed the microphone. "This is Captain Morrison. You just killed 50 of my people. You want to see what humans do when you kill our friends? You're about to find out." Lisa worked frantically at her station. "Platforms rigged, sir. They're programmed to look like escape pods on alien sensors." "Launch them," Jake ordered. 6 mining platforms detached from the Phoenix and began drifting toward the alien ships. On the screen, Jake could see the aliens moving to intercept them. "They're taking the bait," Amy reported. "The lead ship is moving to capture the platforms." Jake watched as the alien ship got closer to the floating platforms. The aliens probably thought they were capturing human escape pods full of scared people. "Detonate," Jake said quietly. The explosion lit up space like a small sun. The alien ship was caught completely off guard. Its shields failed, and the blast tore through the hull. The ship spun wildly, leaking air and sparks. For the first time in the conversation, the alien voice sounded shocked. "Impossible. How did you? What kind of species fights with mining equipment?" Jake smiled grimly. "The kind that doesn't give up. You want to conquer humans? You're going to have to earn it." The other 2 alien ships were moving now, their weapons charging. Jake knew they had won this battle, but the war was just beginning. "All hands prepare for combat," he announced to the ship. "Today, we learned we're not alone in the universe. We also learned that not everyone out here is friendly. But we're humans, and humans don't back down from a fight." The alien ships opened fire, and the real battle began. The news spread through human space like wildfire. Earth's communication networks buzzed with reports of the first alien contact. In the military headquarters on Luna, Admiral Kate Johnson stood before a wall of screens showing star maps and fleet positions. "How many ships do we have ready for combat?" she asked her aide, Commander Bill Hayes. 47 warships, scattered across 12 systems, Bill replied. "Most are patrol vessels, not built for major battles." Kate nodded grimly. The Phoenix had managed to escape the alien attack, but Captain Morrison's report was troubling. The aliens had superior technology and seemed to think humans were easy prey. They were wrong about that. Send orders to all fleet commanders. Begin immediate mobilization. I want every ship we have ready to fight. Meanwhile, on the research station orbiting Mars, Dr. Ryan Bell examined pieces of alien technology recovered from the damaged ship. The metal was unlike anything humans had ever seen, and the energy readings were incredible. This alloy is at least 200 years ahead of our best materials, he told his assistant, Dr. Carol West. But look at this. Ryan pointed to a control panel from the alien ship. Their technology is advanced, but it's not creative. Everything follows the same patterns, the same design principles. It's like they can't think outside the box, Carol frowned. What do you mean? Their whole approach is based on overwhelming force, bigger guns, stronger shields, more ships. They don't seem to consider other possibilities. Back in space, near the Kepler system, Captain Morrison was leading the Phoenix toward the nearest human outpost when Danny picked up new signals. Sir, I'm detecting a massive fleet coming out of hyperspace, much bigger than before. Jake looked at the screen. Dozens of alien ships appeared, led by one vessel that was larger than a city. The alien voice that came through the communications was different this time, deeper and more commanding. I am Supreme War Leader Zeth Morvok of the Valderon Empire. Your species has shown unexpected resistance. This ends now. You will witness the destruction of your colonies and learn the price of defying us. The alien fleet split into groups, heading toward different human settlements. Jake watched helplessly as some ships moved toward New Dallas, a mining colony with 50,000 people. On New Dallas, Colony Administrator Helen Carter received the evacuation order from Earth Command. She stood in the command center, looking at the scared faces of her staff. Ma'am, the transport ships can't carry everyone, said her deputy, Frank Miller. We need at least 6 hours to evacuate the colony. Helen looked at the tactical display. The alien ships would arrive in 2 hours. Then we don't evacuate, she said quietly. We fight. Ma'am, we're civilians. We don't have weapons. Helen smiled grimly. Frank, what's the biggest industry on this planet? Mining and manufacturing, ma'am. And what do we manufacture? Frank's eyes widened as he understood. Industrial explosives, fusion reactors, and chemical processing equipment. Exactly. Get me connected to the factory supervisors. If these aliens want our planet, they're going to pay for it. Over the next 2 hours, Helen and her people worked frantically. They rigged every major building with explosives, turned the fusion reactors into bombs, and filled the chemical plants with deadly traps. The colonists who couldn't be evacuated hid in underground shelters, but many volunteers stayed to help with the preparations. When the Valderon ships arrived, they found what looked like a normal human colony. The aliens landed their troops, expecting easy conquest. Supreme War Leader Morvok himself came down to accept the surrender. Helen stood in the main square, surrounded by a few dozen colonists. She carried a small device in her hand. I am Colony Administrator Helen Carter, she announced. I'm here to discuss terms. Morvok was 8 feet tall, with crystalline skin that reflected light like armor. His voice was full of contempt. There are no terms. You submit or you die. I see, Helen said calmly. In that case, I have a message for you from the human race. She pressed the button. The explosion started at the industrial district and spread outward. Fusion reactors overloaded. Chemical plants released toxic clouds. And underground charges brought down entire city blocks. 3 Valderon ships were caught in the blasts and destroyed completely. Helen and her volunteers died in the explosions, but they took 1,000 alien soldiers with them, Morvok barely escaped to his ship, his crystalline skin cracked from the heat. He had never seen anything like it. What kind of species destroyed their own cities rather than surrender? Similar scenes played out across human space. On Haven Prime, Marine Sergeant Tony Reeves led a guerrilla campaign that lasted 3 weeks. Instead of fighting pitched battles, the humans used hit-and-run tactics, destroyed supply lines, and set traps. When the aliens finally captured Tony, they expected him to break under interrogation. Instead, he gave them false information so convincing that it led an entire Valderon fleet into an asteroid field full of hidden mines. Pilot officer Claire Davis was shot down over the planet Titan and captured by alien forces. During her interrogation, she memorized the layout of their base, escaped during a shift change, and stole an alien fighter. She used it to destroy their fuel depot before crashing back to the planet's surface. Dr. Bell's research was revealing important information about the aliens. When human prisoners were brought to his facility, he debriefed them carefully. "They're not like us," Tony Reeves explained, his arm in a sling from his recent escape. "They think in straight lines. If Plan A doesn't work, they try Plan A harder. They don't adapt." "What do you mean?" Dr. Bell asked. "I gave them false information about our defenses. Any human commander would have double-checked it, tested it, or at least questioned it. They just believed it and acted on it immediately." Claire Davis, recovering from her injuries, added her observations. "Their society is completely hierarchical. Lower ranks never question orders from higher ranks. Ever. It's like they can't think for themselves." Dr. Bell compiled his findings into a report for Admiral Johnson. The Valderons were powerful, but they had a critical weakness. Their rigid military structure made them predictable. Meanwhile, the war was spreading. The Valderons had conquered 17 star systems over the past 1,000 years, but they had never encountered resistance like this. Every human colony they attacked fought back with desperate creativity. On the mining station Beta 7, workers turned their ore processing equipment into weapons. On the agricultural world Green Valley, farmers used their knowledge of chemistry to create deadly traps. Even civilian transport ships became suicide bombers, ramming into alien vessels. The Valderons began to realize they weren't fighting a normal war. They were fighting something they had never encountered before, a species that refused to accept defeat and seemed to get more dangerous when cornered. In his command ship, Supreme War Leader Morvok studied reports from dozens of battles. Every victory cost more than it should. Every conquered planet was a poisoned prize, rigged with traps and filled with hidden resistance fighters. "Send a message to the home fleet," he ordered his communications officer. "Request immediate reinforcements. All available ships." "Sir, that would be half our total military force." "I know," Morvok replied grimly. "But these humans are not like the other species we've conquered. They're teaching other races to resist us. If we don't crush them completely, our entire empire could be at risk." As alien reinforcements began gathering in distant star systems, human engineers worked frantically to reverse engineer captured alien technology. The war was far from over, but humans had learned something important. The strongest enemies could be beaten if you refused to fight by their rules. The galaxy was about to discover that humans were just getting started. 6 months had passed since the first alien attack. The war now covered 12 star systems, and both sides had learned hard lessons. In the Valderon home territory, Fleet Master General Korth Valdris stood before the Empire Council, his crystalline armor bearing the scars of countless battles. "The humans continue to resist," he reported to the assembled leaders. "We have committed 200 ships and lost 47. This is unprecedented." Emperor Zank Valderon, ruler of the Empire for 2 centuries, leaned forward on his throne. You are our greatest military leader, Korth. You have never lost a campaign. How can these primitive creatures challenge our might? They are not primitive, my lord. Different, but not primitive. They fight in ways we have never encountered. They sacrifice everything for victory, and they adapt faster than any species we have faced. The Emperor's eyes glowed with anger. Then commit more ships. Take half our fleet if necessary. These humans must be crushed before other species begin to think they can resist us too. Meanwhile, in human space, great changes were happening. On the secret military base hidden in the asteroid belt, Colonel Sam Torres studied battle reports. From across the war zone, Sam was a small man with gray hair and sharp eyes who had spent his life studying military tactics. The aliens are predictable, he told his staff. Every attack follows the same pattern. They send scouts, then the main force, and they land troops. They never change their approach. Dr. Nina Cross, the weapons designer, looked up from her work table. She was young but brilliant, with wild red hair and hands always covered in grease. And burns from her experiments. Sam, look at this. I've been studying the alien weapons we captured. She held up a strange device that hummed with energy. Their technology is amazing, but it's inflexible. Every weapon is designed for one purpose. Our weapons can be modified, combined, or used in ways they never intended. Theirs can't. What do you mean? Nina grinned. Watch this. She connected the alien energy weapon to a human power cell using spare parts from a mining laser. The result was a weapon that fired faster and hit harder than either the original alien device or human weapon alone. Impressive, Sam said. How many of these can you make? Give me a month and I can outfit our entire fleet. At the diplomatic station on Ceres, Peter Kim was working on an even more important project. Peter was a translator and diplomat who spoke 17 languages. He had been studying communications intercepted from other alien species in Valderon territory. Admiral Johnson, I think I've made a breakthrough, he said during a secure video call. The Valderons rule over at least 6 other alien species. Most of them don't want to be under Valderon control. Admiral Kate Johnson leaned forward. Are you saying we might have allies? Possibly. I've identified 2 species that might help us. The Zenthari are traders who were conquered 50 years ago. The Mokari are engineers who have been enslaved for over a century. Both have technology that could help us. Can you contact them? I'm working on it, but it's dangerous. If the Valderons discover what we're doing, they'll probably kill every member of both species. The breakthrough came 3 weeks later. A Zenthari trading ship appeared at the edge of human space, broadcasting a message in broken English. Peter rushed to the communications station. Human friends, the alien voice said. We hear you fight the Crystal Masters. We want freedom too. Can we help each other? The meeting took place on a neutral asteroid. Peter arrived with a small diplomatic team and met the Zenthari representative, a creature that looked like a cross between a dolphin and a bird. Its name was Click Whistlesong, which Peter shortened to Click. My people have served the Valderons. For 50 years, Click explained through a translation device. We are forced to trade for them, give them our profits, watch our children taken for their armies. We want this to end. What can you offer us? Peter asked. Ships, knowledge of Valderon territory. Most important, we can contact the Mokari. They build the Crystal Masters ships. They know all the weak points. The alliance formed quickly. Within weeks, Zenthari ships were carrying human weapons and supplies through Valderon space. The Mokari began sending detailed plans of Valderon ship designs, showing exactly where to hit for maximum damage. The war's turning point came at the Battle of Titan's Gate, a strategic system that controlled access to 3 major trade routes. Fleet Master General Valdris led the largest Valderon fleet ever assembled, over 100 ships including their most powerful dreadnoughts. Admiral Johnson commanded the human fleet from her flagship, the USS Liberty. Beside her flew Xanthari traders, converted into warships, and Mokari engineering vessels, loaded with new weapons. "This is it," Johnson announced to her fleet. "Today we show the galaxy that bullies can be beaten." The battle began with the Valderons. Doing exactly what Colonel Torres had predicted, they formed into their traditional attack formation and charged straight at the human line. "All ships, execute Plan Chaos," Johnson ordered. Instead of meeting the alien charge head-on, the human fleet scattered in all directions. Each ship began independent attacks, using the hit-and-run tactics that had worked so well on individual planets. Captain Luke Foster commanded the destroyer USS Hornet. Instead of fighting the large alien ships directly, he targeted their communication arrays and sensor equipment. Without sensors, the massive Valderon ships were nearly blind. "Target their antenna arrays," he told his weapons officer, Grace Wells. "Make them deaf and blind." Grace had served as a communications specialist before becoming a weapons officer. She understood exactly how to cripple the alien communication systems. Her precise shots left entire sections of the Valderon fleet unable to coordinate with each. In the engine room of the USS Liberty, Chief Engineer Marcus Reed was performing miracles. The human ships were faster than the alien vessels, but they needed every advantage they could get. "Sir, I'm rerouting power from life support to the engines," he reported to Admiral Johnson. "We can move 30% faster, but only for 20 minutes. "Do it," Johnson replied. The result was chaos for the Valderons. They were used to fighting enemies, who lined up in neat formations and traded shots until one side broke. The human fleet was everywhere at once, attacking from all angles, disappearing when the aliens tried to retaliate. The Xanthari ships used their superior knowledge of space routes to appear behind the Valderon fleet. The Mokari vessels used their understanding of Valderon technology to target exactly the right systems at exactly the right time. Fleet Master General Valdris watched his fleet fall apart around him. His communication systems were down, half his ships were blind, and the humans were attacking faster than his forces could respond. "All ships retreat to defensive positions," he ordered through emergency communications, but retreat was impossible. The human fleet had surrounded them, and every time the Valderons tried to form a defensive line, the humans attacked from a different direction. The battle ended when Valdris's own flagship was boarded by human Marines led by the recently promoted Captain Tony Reeves. The Fleet Master General, the greatest military mind in Valderon history, was captured alive. As news of the victory spread through both human and Valderon space, something unprecedented happened. For the first time in 300 years, a Valderon military leader had been defeated and captured. In the prison cell aboard the USS Liberty, Valdris sat quietly, his crystalline skin dim with defeat. Admiral Johnson came to speak with him personally. "Your empire has ruled through fear for centuries," she said. "But fear only works until someone decides not to be afraid anymore." Valdris looked up at her with confusion in his alien eyes. "How do your people fight so strangely? How do you make other species help you? This is not how war works." Johnson smiled. "Maybe that's why you lost. You think there's only one way to fight, one way to live, one way to think. But there are millions of ways, and we're willing to try all of them." The war was far from over, but the balance had shifted. The strongest military force in the galaxy had met their match, and for the first time in their history, the Valderons began to doubt their invincibility. 1 year after the first contact, the war had become something no one expected. The mighty Valderon Empire was falling apart. Their rigid military structure could not adapt to human tactics, and worse, Other alien species were rebelling everywhere. President Alex Turner stood in the conference room aboard the diplomatic ship USS Harmony, preparing for the most important meeting in human history. With him were Admiral Kate Johnson, the hero of Titan's Gate, General Tony Reeves, who had captured the great Valderon commander, and Admiral Claire Davis, who had become famous for her daring escapes and victories. "Are you sure about this approach?" Admiral Johnson asked. "We have them beaten. We could demand their complete surrender." President Turner shook his head. "That's what they would do to us, but we're not them. We're going to show them a better way." The meeting was taking place on the Valderon homeworld, a planet covered in crystal cities that reached toward the sky. The human delegation landed in the capital, surrounded by crowds of curious aliens who had never seen the species that had defeated their empire. Emperor Zankh Valderon waited in his throne room, a massive hall made entirely of living crystal. That changed colors with his mood. The crystal was dark red now, showing his anger and fear. Around him stood the remaining members of his council, all of them confused by the situation. "Your Majesty," President Turner said as he entered the hall, "I'm honored to meet you." The Emperor's eyes flashed with fury. "You destroyed my empire. You turned my subjects against me. You captured my greatest general. What more do you want?" "I want to offer you something," Turner replied calmly. "Something no one has ever offered the Valderon Empire before." "What could you possibly offer me? You have already taken everything." Turner smiled. "I want to offer you equality. A place in the galactic community, not as conquerors, but as partners." The Emperor stared at him in shock. Around the throne room, Valderon nobles began to whisper among themselves. This was not what they had expected. "You're mocking me," the Emperor said finally. "No, Your Majesty. I'm serious. For 1,000 years, your people have ruled through strength and fear. But strength without wisdom leads to destruction. You've seen that now." Admiral Davis stepped forward. "Your Majesty, I was captured by your forces twice during this war. Both times, I was treated well, according to your military codes. Your people are not evil. They're just trapped in a system that no longer works." General Reeves nodded. "I've spoken with many of your soldiers and commanders. They're brave, loyal, and honorable. They deserve better than an empire built on conquest." The Emperor looked confused. "But we are the strongest. The strong rule the weak. This is the natural order." "Is it?" President Turner asked. "Look around you. Your empire is crumbling. Your strongest fleets have been defeated by species you considered weak. Maybe the natural order isn't what you thought it was." Dr. Ryan Bell, who had studied Valderon culture for months, stepped forward with a tablet. "Your Majesty, may I show you something? These are reports from worlds that have been liberated from Valderon rule." The screen showed images from dozens of planets. Former slave species were building new cities, developing new technologies, and trading freely with each other. The Xanthari had established trade routes that connected half the galaxy. The Mokari were using their engineering skills to terraform dead worlds into gardens. "This is what happens when people are free to choose their own path," Dr. Bell explained. "They don't become weak. They become stronger than they ever were under the Empire." Emperor Zankh studied the images in silence. For the first time in his long life, he was seeing something his empire had never produced: genuine cooperation between different species. "I don't understand," he said quietly. "If you don't rule them, how do you control them?" "We don't control them," Turner said. "We work with them. We help each other. When the Xanthari needed protection, we provided it. When we needed supplies, they traded fairly. When the Mokari wanted freedom, we helped them get it. Now they help US because they choose to, not because they're forced to." Admiral Johnson activated another screen showing human space. Your Majesty, look at this. Human colonies working alongside Xanthari traders, Mokari engineers, and dozens of other species. All of them free, all of them contributing what they do. Best, the Emperor was silent for a long time. Finally, he spoke. You're asking me to give up everything my people have believed for 1,000 years. No, Turner said gently. I'm asking you to try something new. Your people are strong, intelligent, and capable. Imagine what they could accomplish if they used that strength to build instead of destroy, to protect instead of conquer. A young Valderan noble stepped forward from the crowd. His name was Vex Carrao, the same commander who had first encountered Captain Morrison a year ago. The experience had changed him. Your Majesty, Vex said nervously, I was there when we first met the humans. I thought they would surrender like all the others, but they didn't. They fought back with courage and creativity I had never seen. They showed me that strength isn't just about having bigger weapons. The Emperor looked at his young commander with surprise. In the old empire, a junior officer would never speak without permission. What are you saying, Vex? I'm saying maybe. The humans are right. Maybe there's a better way to be strong. Other Valderan nobles began to speak up. They talked about the rebellions across the empire, the economic collapse, the fear that gripped their people. The old way was destroying them from within. President Turner waited patiently as the Valderans debated among themselves. This was exactly what he had hoped for. For the first time in their history, they were questioning their own system. Finally, the Emperor raised his hand for silence. Human President, what exactly are you proposing? Full membership in the Galactic Alliance. Your people would keep their worlds, their culture, their pride. But instead of conquering others, you would work with them. Instead of demanding tribute, you would trade fairly. Instead of ruling through fear, you would lead through example. And if we refuse? Turner's expression grew serious. Then the war continues. More of your people die. Your empire falls completely, and your species becomes just another conquered race. But that's not what we want. We've seen what your people can accomplish when they put their minds to it. We want you as allies, not as slaves. The Emperor stood up from his throne and walked to the great window that looked out over his crystal capital. In the distance, he could see smoke rising from rebellions in the outer districts. His empire was already broken. I need time to consider. This, he said finally. Of course, Your Majesty. But while you're deciding, let me show you something else. Turner gestured to Admiral Davis, who activated a holographic display. It showed a new space station being built in neutral territory, with ships from dozens of species working together on the construction. This is the first Galactic Alliance station, Turner explained. A place where all species can meet, trade, and solve problems together. There's a place for Valderan ships there too, if you want it. 5 years later, former Emperor Zankth Valderan stood in the observation deck of that same space station, watching ships from across the galaxy dock peacefully. He no longer wore the title of Emperor. Now he was called Ambassador Valderan, representative of the Valderan Confederation. Beside him stood Vex Carrao, now a captain in the Alliance peacekeeping fleet. They watched as human children played with young Valderans in the station's park, their laughter echoing through the corridors. Do you ever regret it? Vex asked. Giving up the empire? The former emperor smiled. Look around you, Vex. Our people are happier than they've ever been. Our worlds are more prosperous. Our young people are learning things we never taught them in the empire. We didn't lose everything. We found something better. Through the window, they could see the USS Phoenix, now commanded by Admiral Jake Morrison. The old mining ship had been refitted as an exploration vessel, leading joint expeditions to map new regions of the galaxy. Captain Morrison stood on his bridge, looking out at the peaceful station. A year ago, He could never have imagined this. Scene: the strongest aliens in the galaxy had become some of humanity's closest allies. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a message from the exploration fleet. They found something interesting in the outer rim." Morrison smiled. "What is it this time?" "Another new species, sir." "They're asking if we come in peace," Morrison chuckled. "Tell them yes, we come in peace. And then ask them if they'd like to join the Alliance. We've got room for everyone." The galaxy had learned an important lesson. True strength didn't come from conquering others. It came from lifting them up, working together, and building something greater than any one species could achieve alone. The strongest aliens had met humans and lost everything they thought made them powerful. In return, they had gained something far more valuable: friends, purpose, and a future worth building together.